Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk on how you can make your scholarship application to be exceptional or outstanding. It's like, oh, by the time someone is teaching, oh yeah, this is the person that I want. Someone is not getting tired to read your documents, and then that will make your documents or your scholarship or application document to shine. So I just have four things that I want to share, quick four things. The first thing, make your work experience to be fine, like to be outstanding. I'm talking about the master's scholarship applications. I'm not there yet to talk about the bachelor scholarships and so the first tip is make your work experience to be outstanding. Make sure you do that because almost all of the master's applications or master's scholarship application, they want you to have an outstanding work experience. When I say outstanding, it has to be fine. You have to make sure that your work experience is well explained. For example, I will talk about my experience and I will talk about how I did mine. For example, for me, I will use my practical example. For example, for me, since I was grade 5, I was like I was in when I was in primary school in my country, and mostly from grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 to grade 7. I was in a lot, maybe two of different initiatives that was happening at my school. I used to do healthy, I was in healthy clubs, but also I was in, girls club, and those, I don't remember exactly the name, but those, there was a lot of initiative that used to be done in my country with different organizations. So for me, I started to participate since that time. The time I was applying for scholarship, I didn't want to let them go. Like, I had to explain them how I was. And from that age till I was at the university, I was still participating in different associations, youth club, healthy clubs, being in those ones, awareness clubs. I remember HIV awareness clubs, I remember we have another was called ABY. I have the certificates of those clubs that I participated. So how are you going to include them in the work experience, but also how do you make your work experience to be outstanding? So because of that, I'm saying that you make sure that your work experience is outstanding by showing a lot of things that you have participated in, a snapshot of that. Because I know you don't have a pages, or maybe like you're not given a lot of pages to write on those things. You can try to find in a way that you can, for example, for me, because I have a lot of them, I had to combine them. Making our work experience outstanding, make sure you explain all the experiences that you have. Remember to include volunteering and internship, because they are also counted as work experience. For me, but I'm pretty sure, because I remember I had to ask questions, but also I have to try to search and see either are they included, but I found that they're included, because even if you're a volunteer, you do a lot of tasks, right? And sometimes in some organization, you're the one you're doing much of the tasks. So I don't think it's a good idea to not include that one. So you have to include that one, but also you have to say, when you're doing work, you do, like, there are a lot of tasks. There's a lot of tasks that we do that they're more than the work experience that we are talking about. So talk about those ones. Make sure you talk about those. Sometimes you're working as, maybe, let's say for me, I was working as I was working as a M&E personnel, and then you work as a M&E personnel, but at the same time you're supporting some other things outside of that. Then say those ones, say that, because they're showing you how exceptional you are. And remember that most of the scholarship they want, or maybe the Swedish scholarship, let me take specific, they want you to have they want leadership skills. So by supporting different parts of maybe of your organization, or maybe outside of the organization, talk about those things. Don't forget about those things, because they're going to give you credit, you know. Because I know, because in, for example, in my country, or the environment that I come from, you have this as your JD, but we always do outside the box. Like, we always not outside the JD. So if you're doing this, talk about those. Don't forget, don't leave them, because they are going to make your work experience to be outstanding. So make sure it's outstanding. And the second one, make sure that your leadership experience is outstanding too. So you have to show, how do you, go and try to search, how can you make your leadership experience outstanding, write about that thing. Don't just talk that, hey, I'm a good leader, or as I said, don't make your explanation light, like you just explain maybe you're a good leader, you have no talk. Maybe how many people did you supervise, what task did those ones, and talk about your experience in a very, very good way. Just a snapshot of it. Make sure work experience to be outstanding. Don't just have a light extra explanation in whatever scholarship application you're doing, because make sure your leadership is outstanding. And we have, for example, in our countries, we do a lot of supervisions. And also about that, the same thing that work leadership experience, for example, the Swedish scholarship that I got, they do ask how many hours did you support how many hours were you supporting the leadership part. So you have to know that too. And the most thing that I used to feel like that is the one that gave me scholarship. I don't know, of course, like my qualification, or maybe the requirement that they mentioned for me, it was more than enough. I have more than enough of the work experience they wanted, and I have more than enough of the leadership experience they wanted. How many hours of leadership I had more than enough of the research experience, because I was working as a M&E personnel. I had more than enough of the motivation me to have to come to do a global healthy program. So for me, everything was a fit. But then I used to select some of the things, or I used to come, because for me, I do remember how my documents were written. I do remember everything. Even now, if someone is asking, how did you do it? I will be, hey, I explained about this. How did you explain about this? How, I don't remember those ones. So for me, I used to feel like this was the most strong point that I did. But for me, as I mentioned maybe in my previous video, I used a true story, or first of all, like a true story that happened in my life. That was one of the motivation. Why was I motivated to start masters in global health or masters in public health? So I used a true story. That was my story that happened in my life. But also, I had to make sure that I'm including all the initiative that I did. I was, I was born in a developing countries, in a country that have a lot of healthy outcomes or health issues. I was participating in, my mom was a teacher. So I participated since I was 11. I was participating in a lot of initiative that was brought in my school with different organizations. So I was in healthy clubs. I was in when I was in standard grade 7, I was in other club, maybe whatever youth clubs. But also when I went to secondary education, of which here in Sweden they called elementary, whatever, I was in healthy club. At the same time, I was in awareness club. There was a lot of USAID program that came. So for me, I was doing those, like I was just everywhere. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to leave this. because these were my initiatives, some of them, because there are some of the crab that I was the one that I established. The people that I went to school with, they do know those things. So I was the one that I established those ones. And when I went even to high school, there was the same thing. I had those initiative. I had the stories that I had, like I did by myself. And because of that, you do. So for me, I didn't live those things. When they asked about the motivation, I was like, hey, I have more than one motivation, but the main one was my life story that happened, of which that story, the same story that made me to be consistent in this initiative that were happening at my school. For instance, the healthy crabs and all. It was making me to stay there because I was like, oh my God, I want to help my community, and I really wanted that. It was something that I wanted to do it, like completely doing it, like I dedicated a lot of time in that. So I was in those awareness clubs and I was helping. So I didn't want to. So when they asked, hey, what is your motivation? I was like, hey, I have this one. I mean, don't forget about your initiative and success story that you have, I mean, that you did, or maybe you were part of it, of those part of it in your life or at school, in your community and all those, because those ones, they're making you to be maybe kind of outstanding, to making you to be seen, like your document to be outstanding. Because if you don't talk about that, so don't forget them. If you feel like you have a lot in your plate, like me, you can combine them. For me, I did combine them. Like I had to combine this and this, and then I just put it in one. For example, I had a lot of crabs, healthy crabs. I have environmental crab. I have those, awareness crab, of which some that were healthy crabs, some that were, corruption crabs. So sometimes I had to combine the one that were related into one. So you have to make sure that you are talking about that, because that one is going to make sure that you're outstanding. That is very good. I remember for me, as I said, that from that grade, like from at the age of 11, I was in those clubs. I was like everywhere. A person that was everywhere. In secondary school, high school, at the university, everywhere. Even when I went to work, some of the place that I was working, some there were my ideas, like, hey, let's do this, when can we do those? And those when I talked about them, I didn't want to let them stay in my mind, or maybe it's just to stay with the organization, because the way, talk about those ones, because they're going to show how can you be a global leader later on. How can you contribute? How did you contribute to your communities? Because in our communities, we contribute based on initiatives, different activities that we do. We have people, okay, and this one also, we have people who maybe they have started their own organizations. It doesn't matter. It's a profit organization, a non-profit organization. All of those, they are contributing. So talk about those ones. Let's say you have started an hospital and you are praying for masters in public health, or master. That's also the contribution, because if you started an hospital, you're contributing the other way around. Because remember, for example, in developing country, there's maybe different issues, and then that also is an initiative. That also is the story, but also there is a story behind it, that why did you start that hospital? So don't let it, if you are an accountant, you have your own organization, it's a profit, yes, but you are contributing to the community. That means you saw a problem. So those are the initiatives. Talk about those things. Don't let them go. Don't you ever do that, because that one is going to show how outstanding you are while I'm praying. And the last thing, because I just wanted to talk about just the 4 things. It's about you have to, when you are applying, think about, because every time the world or globally we have goals that we work on, or we have target that we work on, right? Like when at work, we have the goal that we go for. Currently, we have the sustainable development goals. So imagine you applying for scholarship, and then you don't even talk about those things. You don't even link your work, or maybe your experience, or maybe your leadership, or maybe your initiative it to sustainable development goals or SDGs. So I think make sure this one is make sure you link uh, your documentation for some of the parts with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Now we have the Sustainable Development Goals, that the 17 goals. I know that it's not that you're going to link all of them. Just link the one that you feel they fit into your application or in your program. If you are applying for public health or maybe global masters in global health like me, link it with the sustainable goal number 3 and some like there's a lot. It's not only sustainable development goal number 3. There's a lot of goal that can fit into goal number 3, but the main one has to be the number 3. But then when you go to education, also that one is fitting to sustainable development goal number 3, the one that it's about healthy. So everything, link them with the sustainable development goals, link them, because those ones, go and read the goal that you have maybe 5 of them, the one that they link, maybe sometimes more of them. Talk about those ones, how, every question, think in a way that every question that will come, think on how you're going to link with the sustainable goals, but also think in a strategic, think every question that, think of the initiative that you have done in every question that is coming in your application. Think about that. So think beyond, think in a way that it's, different. Talk about those things in every question. So I think that was it from my side. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will be coming with more contents, with more topics about scholarship, but also in other topics that I will bring in here. Thank you so much. Continue to support me. Continue to subscribe. Please continue to subscribe and share. Thank you so much. Bye.